So today I'm in the National Botanical Gardens, the Royal Botanical Gardens in Edinburgh. And I am around with other people, so please excuse the noises of children on a school trip behind me. I'm actually in one of the physic garden beds here, and I thought that I would just go through some plants, as there's some lovely, very healthy versions of them, so it's really easy to be able to identify them, and I can talk about their uses. So the first one that I'm going to talk about today is St John's wort. Now this is St John's wort here. I'm just going to take a leaf off here so that I can see. Now this will come into flower soon. As you can see, I don't know if you can see here, it's coming into bud and it is going to go into flower. And it's got a yellow flower, almost quite a buttercup looking flower to it, but as you can see it doesn't look anything like buttercup. It's very soft to feel, the leaves. Now on the back of a leaf you will see the veins here, and you will also see, and what's characteristic of the fact that it's Hypericum perforatum, which is the St John's wort, that is the medicinal kind, is that you will see pores. When you hold it up to the light you will see pores, which is the perforatum in Latin, and you will often see these black dots around the edge as well, which are also pores, and you will see them through, so if you hold it up to the light you'll see those, and that's an easy way to be able to identify the fact that yes, it is Hypericum and it is the perforatum, for you to be able to use. People are very nervous of St John's wort because they know that it can interact with medication, which is completely true. But if you're using it externally, and it has some fantastic uses externally, you don't need to have that worry, as it doesn't cross the barrier of the skin into the bloodstream, so there isn't an issue if you are taking any medication. Now, if you infuse this in oil, you need to activate it with UV light, so you need to put it on a windowsill, which is completely not what you would normally do with an infused oil. And what will happen is the hypericin, which is the red pigment in the plant, will come out, and you will see that it will turn the oil red. And this is the same when you extract it in alcohol, it turns the alcohol red as well. And this happens in about a month. Okay, I'm just going to stop there. I just had to pause there for a school group to go by. Very interested in the herbs and the magpie that is also probably hopping around. Lots of birds here that you'll hear in the background, and they may come into shot, so you can see it. If you can see the magpie just heading by there. So yes, you're going to infuse the St John's wort in oil. It's going to go red. Now, as with any infused oil, it's going to last about a year if it's kept well, and please see another video for information on that. But the oil you can now make into an ointment for bruises. But the fantastic thing about St John's wort is its nerve relieving, pain relieving action. So you can use it for lots of different things where are trapped, for example, trapped nerves. Anywhere where nerves are inflamed within the body, you can use this externally, either just as an oil or as an ointment. So it's a good one to have in the first aid kit. As I said, also used for bruises, and combines well with, for example, comfrey, daisy, calendula, lots of other things. So I'm going to move on. Now, I've done meadowsweet lots of times before, but there is a little bit of a meadowsweet here. I'm going to move on to yarrow. That's a little sign there. So this is yarrow, and this is going to grow with a tall stem and a white flower, but this is just in leaf at the moment. It's very fluffy. You can see that there. So there isn't much to see of yarrow because it's only the beginning of its cycle at the moment. Yarrow has got lots of different uses. Externally, it's a wound healer. So a lot of people will use it for as like an antibacterial wash with other herbs. Usually that's as a tincture, but it can be as a tea. It's also urinary antiseptic, so it's really useful for cystitis. Fantastic for cystitis, actually. It would be the first thing that I would recommend people to use as a tea. Very safe, does not have any interactions with any drugs. And it's it's quite a gentle herb. It's very bitter when you have it as a tea, so be prepared that it is going to be very bitter. It's also really good for pelvic circulation, so it's fantastic for women with any kind of issues with periods, because of the fact that it increases the circulation to the area, which can reduce any kind of symptoms of pain, and it also has it does have actions on other parts of the body, especially for women, uterine lining and things like that, which I won't talk about today, but we can go into a lot of depth in that area, and yarrow is really useful in that, but also has this first aid uses as well. So this is hyssop, and hyssop is it's a really useful plant. It's not in flower at the moment here. Oh no, I lie, I can see a flower. I'm just gonna, here we go. So there's one flower on the whole plant, as you can see. It sort of looks, it can look a bit lavender like the flower shape, but hyssop itself is really great for coughs. It's really good for children. It's a very safe herb. Yeah, so it's mostly used for coughs as an expectorant. So it brings out the mucus, can break down mucus and brings it up, and so it's used for colds and flus, those types of conditions. So this next one is elecampane. Its Latin name is Inula helenium, and it grows with a really tall yellow flower that's sort of the shape of a sunflower, that kind of flower. Bright yellow, it's very pretty, and it's actually the leaves and the roots that are used medicinally for elecampane. It's another cough remedy, fantastic cough remedy. It also has an effect very gently on the immune system. People use it as a European echinacea type of use for elecampane, but very gentle, very good for children. And lots of people will dig up the root, and because they're so high in sugar, you can actually preserve them and turn them into a cough sweet, basically just from the root. So you're actually just using the dried root as the medicine. So this is mullein, a name that I often forget in English because the Latin name is the one I use most often, which is Verbascum thapsis. Now, mullein and elecampane, sometimes people can get confused with it, and they do have very pale leaves, but the mullein is very, very fluffy. It's very, very soft leaf. It's very easy to be able to identify a mullein. But yes, they do both have pale, especially on the back leaves. That's the only similarity really that I would think of. Now, mullein is a soother of the digestive tract, so this softness, if you like, lends itself to soothing the digestive tract, and as well as lungs. So it can be used in cough medicines to soothe an irritated cough. Those tend to be its main two uses. It's very safe, it's great to be used with children. Now, I don't have a plant ID book with me, but I'm fairly certain that this is an oxeye daisy. Just lift it up to see. Now these, I'm just going to lift it like that, there we go, so you can see it growing like that. They grow on roadsides. It's a native plant. It is obviously within the daisy family, and so it does share properties with Bellis perennis, which is your common daisy that you see growing in lawns. So in that, it can be used for bruising. You could use it in an infused oil for ointments for bruises. It is our equivalent of arnica, the daisy family. So you can use it in that way. It's traditionally used instead of eyebright, because eyebright doesn't grow everywhere, and has got a long history of use in Ireland for lots of eye conditions. It's very traditionally used there, mostly as a tea that's then made into like an eye wash. For lots and lots of different types of conditions to do with the eyes. I would certainly use it in hay fever. Now, when I'm visiting botanical gardens, I can get a little bit blind to ornamental species, and I love to see the wild species, especially if they've got areas where they allow it to grow back into a natural meadow, which is what I'm looking at now in the botanical gardens. So I'm just going to show you a couple of species here, which are really lovely to see. So this first one, you will see this is a wild native plant. This is Herb Bennett. Latin name is Geum. Now I'll just show you there, that's its flower, and then that's it's gone to seed there. Now Geum is a very safe herb, and it's used a lot in upset stomachs, really. Very safe, can be used in children, and the roots have very similar properties to clove, so they can be used in mouthwashes, and for mouth ulcers, any problems with the teeth. So that's the root, but the rest of the plant has digestive elements to it.